Welcome to All Facts Matter, where we fact check the foolishness so you don't have to. When I started this series, it was because there seems to be a rise in this so called open dialogue that falls apart the moment you offer facts. You share a perspective, add some context, and suddenly you're biased, bought, brainwashed, or, in my case, condescending and divisive. Over the weekend, someone came into my DM, several people, but this one in particular said they wanted to talk politics. And what unfolded wasn't a conversation, but it was a slow spiral into tone policing, accusation, and eventually a full blown argument built on half truths and unchecked claims. So, in the spirit of clarity, I'm going to do what I promised them that I would do because they wouldn't let me do it in the DMs. I'm going to walk you through their greatest hits collection of political disinformation, one claim at a time, and fact check them calmly and clearly. Here's what we're going to fact check today: tariffs and trade policy, Brookfield tax avoidance and asset disclosure, small business support and economic conditions, Carney's background and claims of elitism, allegations connected to residential schools, and a random claim about Brazil. I know, it's a lot. So buckle up, Barter Tarts. We're going through them one by one with context and receipts. Back in March, Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, which included things like steel, aluminum, auto parts. And of course, that hit the Canadian industries hard. Canada responded with matching 25% tariffs on about $30 billion worth of US imports. Everything from spirits to appliances, cosmetics, and paper products. Not to escalate, but to defend our economy. Doing nothing would have cost over 75,000 jobs in agriculture and manufacturing alone. And while they argued that we should focus on interprovincial trade barriers instead, Carney did do that, and he actually spoke about it in the English Leaders Debate. During his first week in office, he made that a priority. He met with premiers and launched a national trade strategy aiming for full internal free trade by Canada Day. That means removing barriers across transportation, energy, digital infrastructure, and more. And it's projected to grow our economy by $250 billion. Canada isn't just reacting, it's protecting itself internationally and cleaning up inefficiencies at home. Let's be clear. Carney was not the CEO of Brookfield. He doesn't own Brookfield. He didn't oversee tax strategy. And at least 6 conservative MPs are personally invested in Brookfield funds. Even the leader was invested in Brookfield funds. But if we're going to point fingers, let's point them fairly. As for disclosure, Carney met all the legal requirements within days of taking office. He placed his assets in what's called a blind trust and established a conflict of interest screen, just like the law requires. A blind trust means he can't see or influence what happens to his investments while in office. So he doesn't manage the assets. He doesn't make decisions about them. He can't use them to shape policy. It's designed to prevent conflicts of interest, and that's the gold standard for public officials. Carney wasn't in government. He didn't write the policy. He simply advised on economic matters. But decisions were made by the government, not him. You can disagree with the outcomes, but let's be clear about who is actually responsible for them. Inflation hit globally. The US peaked at 9.1% in 2022, the UK hit 11.1%, and the EU averaged over 10%. Yes, food prices have gone up in Canada, just like they have all around the world. And it's just not one thing causing it. It's global supply issues, fuel costs, climate disruptions, and yes, corporate greed have all played a role. But again, it is not unique To us, food inflation is a worldwide problem. Crime, it spiked in most major cities post pandemic, including places Carney has never even stepped foot in. And yes, Canada does, in fact, have the highest household debt in the G7. That is absolutely true. But here's what the stat doesn't tell you: this didn't start with Trudeau. And blaming one government without looking at the deeper causes, that's just unfair and it's unhelpful. Our household debt crisis is a result of long term structural issues like soaring housing prices over the decades, stagnant real wages, a financial system that's made borrowing easy, especially when interest rates are low, and a culture of relying on personal credit to fill the gaps left by rising costs. When interest rates rose, those variable rate mortgages and credit lines hit people hard. But that wasn't pressure that was just created in the last 5 to 10 years. It's been building far longer. So yes, we need a bold policy to tackle affordability and debt. But using Trudeau or any single leader as a scapegoat, come on. That ignores the bigger picture. It won't get us any closer to fixing the problem. You can be mad about affordability. I know I am. But friends, let's be right at the right things. Carney served as the governor of the Bank of England because they poached him after he successfully led the Bank of Canada. Oh, and the pin that he wore during the debate, it's an Order of Canada pin that he was awarded in 2014 as one of the key players of steering the Canadian economy through the 2008 global economic crisis. This isn't elitism, that's expertise. Then he moved back to Ottawa in 2020 after, again, he was recruited by the Bank of England for stewarding the UK's economy through Brexit and economic and political crisis that followed. He pays taxes here. He lives here. He leads here. And yes, he also renounced his British and Irish citizenships before he took office. But listen, if being accomplished makes someone elitist, then maybe we need to rethink who we're comfortable trusting with complex decisions. And if you look south of the border, I think we have an answer. Let's break all of this down. Evictions. Again, Carney didn't run Brookfield's housing division. He wasn't even involved in property management. His father, Robert Carney, well, official records show he was the principal at Grolier Day School in the 1960s. A video clip of him in 1965 speaking about discipline and students has resurfaced. Some are now using it to suggest that Mark Carney shares the same beliefs and values as his father. And no, I am not excusing his father for hateful remarks that he made. But blaming a grown man today for what his father said in a colonial institution over 50 years ago, that's not accountability, that's reach. Let's be clear, the clip reflects the language and the attitudes of that era and an institution that caused real harm. But again, holding someone accountable for their father's role in a broken system without evidence that they also share those same views isn't a critique, it's smear. Carney's own record has shown a commitment to reconciliation and systemic reform, not a continuation of that legacy. And Brazil, I don't even know what that's about. But all I know is there's no credible evidence tying Carney to any wrongdoing here. And if there is, show it. Otherwise, it's just a smear. The Liberals had launched targeted supports like the Canada Digital Adoption Program, Black Entrepreneurship Program, Indigenous Business Development Funding, and other regional innovation type grants. During COVID, they introduced rent relief, wage subsidies, and loan forgiveness to keep small and medium-sized businesses afloat. And yes, Vancouver has seen business closures, like most major cities, during and after the pandemic. But listen, friends, Recovery takes time, but the support has been there, and we should push for more. But let's not pretend like nothing was done. I think I got all of them, but I want to wrap this up by saying, listen, you can ask the tough questions. You can even come with criticism. I'm here for all that. And just to be clear, I don't think the liberals are perfect. No party is. There's a lot they've done right and a lot that they still need to answer for. But listen, if we're going to hold them accountable, we should do it with facts, not forwarded headlines and recycled conspiracy bait. Because here's the thing, if we actually want to make progress, we need to learn how to have these conversations differently. It is so easy nowadays to hit send on a hot take, but it's harder to pause, verify, and ask yourself, would I stake my credibility on this being true? Because it's just been wild to me that some people need zero proof to believe a lie, but demand endless proof to accept the truth. And when that dynamic creeps into how we talk to each other, especially when the goal shifts from dialogue to domination, that's when the facts get drowned out. So before you send that next DM or repost that slick little headline, ask yourself, is this moving the conversation forward, or am I just fueling the algorithm? And if you're wondering what to do when the facts aren't enough and the conversation turns personal or hostile, sometimes it's either best to just step away or you step back, speak clearly, and just let the facts stand. You don't have to argue louder. You just have to argue better. Don't get got.